My first exposure to Donald Ross would be really as a kid, learning the game from my dad. My dad grew up in Rumford, right down the street from Wannamoisett, and he started out as a caddy. He was just a neighborhood kid and came up through the caddy ranks, became a top player, and then later in life became a member at Wannamoisett. So as a kid, I lived a block and a half from the course. I could see the third tee from the front lawn, and like my dad, I started out as a caddy from age 10, caddying at Wannamoisett, and then learning the game at Wannamoisett. So really caddying and playing at Wannamoisett was my first exposure, but I didn't know Donald Ross from a hole in the wall until I got a little bit older.
I've told so many people that there's a golf course called Wannamoisett that you should go see. It is a par 69, and I once wrote in their foreword to one of their books, I said, Wannamoisett's par of 69 should be worn like a badge of courage, because there's every shot that you have to play on that golf course, yet it's barely 100 acres. It's maybe a shade under 100 acres, but it has one par 5, but it's just filled with the most beautiful, interesting holes that you could want.
You're thinking going there, well, it's going to be really tight. And it's not tight at all. I mean, the fairways are big and broad, and some places they sort of tie together here and there. They've done a great restoration job on that in recent years, thinning out trees, getting the fairways back out to the widths that they were originally. You know, some really interesting property right around the clubhouse. You know, there's deep hollow that you hit over on the first hole, and then the second hole turns around and comes back into a low area, and then there's that little third hole in the corner that's sort of an iconic Ross hole. A great set of greens, you know, terrific golf course.
I also think that because he evolved in his style, it's very clear to me, for example, early on, his first designs right around and after World War I, there's a lot of irregular bunkering, and as he gets older and as the golf ball and equipment develop, he becomes a little more strategic, he becomes a little more parsimonious in his placement of bunkers. They're not quite as random. So Wannamoisett, for example, which held the PGA in 1931, you can see the change as the clubs changed, and also sand bunkers, the advent of the sand wedge. So his designs changed and evolved. He adapted his style.
So, you know, a course doesn't have to be 7,500 yards to test people. In the end, it's a reflection of the round. Did most people hit every club in their bag? Probably did on every Donald Ross course. He wanted people, yes, he wanted people to be tested, but after all, he said golf should be a pleasure, not a penance.